While discussing the draggable interactions revert option, I have already mentioned that we will see two more values that you can set for revert option when discussing the droppable interaction, because then only it will be really easy to understand. So in this lecture we are going to see two values you can set for the draggable interactions revert option, and they are valid and invalid. The values we have already discussed are revert to be true or false and also a custom function. Revert is actually used if you want to make the dragged element to revert or move back to its original position. So the two additional values you can set for the revert option are valid and invalid. So to illustrate this, I have created a web page, and these two items are draggable, and this is set to be the target for these two items. So even if I put this one or this one into the droppable area, we will get the message the item is dropped, because both these div elements are accepted draggable elements for this droppable element. So suppose you want the dropped element to revert back to its original position. Then the value you need to set for the revert option is valid. So if you set the value of revert option to be valid, then an element dropped into the droppable area will go back to its original position, whereas if the element is dropped outside the droppable area, it will not move back. And if you set the value of revert to be invalid, then an element dropped into the droppable area will not move back to its original position. It will remain in the dropped area. But if you put the element outside the droppable area, it will move back to its original position. So valid and invalid actually do the opposite. So let's see that. Within this, I have already made the two div elements draggable, because the class name for both the colored div elements are item. And I have also made the area to be droppable. That is, this area is droppable. Now what I want to do is, I want to set the value of revert option to be valid for one item and invalid for the other, so that we can see the change. So let me make the first one valid. So hash item1, I want to set the value of revert option. So let me put draggable within curly braces revert, that is the name of the option, and let me set its value to be valid. So what will happen now? If you put this element into the droppable area, it will go back to its original position, and if you put it outside the droppable area, it will not move back to its original position. So let's see that. Refresh. This is the first one, that is item 1. Let me put it here. I am seeing the message the item is dropped, and see, it is moving back to its original position. Suppose I put it outside the droppable area and release the mouse. See, it is not going back to the original position. And invalid does the opposite. So let me copy this, change this to item 2 and this to invalid. And let's see the difference. Refresh. Let me put this within the droppable area. The item is dropped, but it is not moving back to its original position. Instead, if I put it outside the droppable area, see, it is moving back to its original position. Let me put it here. It is moving back to its original position. So this way you can decide whether your dropped element should move back to its original position or not. If you want your dropped element to move back to its original position, you should set the value to be valid. And if you don't want the dropped element to move back to its original position, then the value should be invalid. So these are the two values you can set for the revert option of draggable interaction to adjust with the droppable interaction.